the 23rd of July. Welcome to the program tonight. My name is Brian Amuai. These are the top stories tonight. On Lookup Weekend tonight, demonstrations will not bring down the cost of living, maintains President William RUTO as he castigates Azimio for taking to the streets. Also tonight, have a conversation. Civil society groups call for dialogue between RUTO and Raila as they condemn the use of force on protesters. And former IBC Commissioner Letangula and lawyer Danstan Omari among 15 people shortlisted for DPP position. Now, sign language interpreter tonight is Felista Adundo. Let's start the bulletin tonight. Civil society organizations are calling on the country's leadership to give up their hard stance and have a conversation on the ongoing protests that have led to the death of citizens and the destruction of property. Now, the organizations under the Uchaguzi platform have asked President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga to embrace dialogue. The group has also condemned the use of excessive force by police in dealing with protesters. Conference on Sunday, the group called for an immediate revival of the bipartisan talks, emphasizing the importance of making it a multi-sectoral representation beyond just the two political factions, arguing that this might give Kenyans a glimmer of hope.
So our position are as follows. We call for an immediate revival of the bipartisan talks and emphasize the importance of making it a multi-sectoral representation. The bipartisan talks gave Kenyans a glimmer of hope as it created a golden opportunity for issues affecting Kenyans to be deliberated and addressed. We reiterate the importance of the talks and the need for our leaders to exercise patience, soberness, selflessness that is needed to resume and see through the talks. We also wish to emphasize the need for the talks to go beyond political interests and genuinely encompass the diverse concerns and aspirations of all Kenyan citizens.
As Uchaguzi platform, we shall be providing any information needed for the bipartisan parliamentary and multi-sectoral dialogue engagement to enable our country move forward.
The group also condemned the use of excessive force by police in dealing with protesters, which has led to hundreds nursing gunshot wounds and others dead.
We are appalled by the alarming incidences witnessed recently, where some peaceful protesters exercising their democratic right to picket were met with unnecessary force and arbitrary and unlawful arrests by the National Police Service. It is disheartening to witness such actions in a country that prides itself on upholding principles of human rights and freedom of speech, and which is sovereign by the Constitution of Kenya, in which the freedom of assembly and expression is enshrined. We call upon the authorities to respect and protect these fundamental rights, allowing peaceful demonstrations to take place without intimidation or undue restrictions.
In Ahero, there was use of tear gas that was thrown into a social justice center, and it got burned down, and it was covered by the media. So was that deliberate? Was it targeting the social justice center? We also saw tear gas being directed to a school, and you saw children suffocating. I mean, were those children the protesters? And we ask for accountability in terms of the restraint by the police on where to direct the tear gas. And is it that when citizens notify the police to protest, does it mean now the date and the notification becomes a battleground? Let's say, for instance, in Kamukunji.
At the same time, the group expressed concern over what they described as degenerating conduct of some of the leaders who use reckless language that may incite violence and chaos, and others assaulting members of the public.
We demand that they understand and appreciate that their officers are held in trust on behalf of Kenyans, and should they violate these ethical duties, we shall boldly and relentlessly call them out order and take due action. Leaders should use their positions responsibly, promote unity, understanding, and constructive dialogue, rather than adding fuel to the flames of unrest.
The call comes as the country is plunged into political tension amid the ongoing anti-government protests called for by the opposition to picket against the high cost of living and increased taxation.
This week, various civil society and religious leaders called for the repeal of the Finance Act, a call we hereby reiterate and support.
So far, over 300 arrests have been made according to the Interior Ministry and dozens dead. The Azimio coalition has called for the 9th round of protests this week, even as President RUTO calls for a stop to protests, arguing that they are not a solution to the problems of Kenyans. Brian Amoy, Lookuptv, Nairobi. Now, with the police under scrutiny following the use of excessive force on protesters during the anti-government demonstrations, President William Ruto has now come out in support of the police officers while calling out the protesters over attacks on the law enforcers. Juliet Chepkoech files the following story.
Speaking during a church service in Taita Taveta County, President William Ruto, while weighing in on the use of excessive force by the police, has warned protesters against attacking the law enforcers while lauding the officers for their efforts to maintain law and order.
It is not possible that anybody can attack the police. You cannot. The police is the symbol of security of Kenya. Therefore, you cannot attack the police with stones, with all manner of crude weapons, including guns. That is not acceptable, and that will not happen in Kenya. And the police must be firm. They must be firm. Na mimi nataka niwashukuru police. They have been firm and they have been professional.
As the debate on who finances the anti-government demonstrations gathers pace, UDA Vice Chairperson Hassan Omar has asked former President Uhuru Kenyatta to quit politics and desist from promoting violence through funding opposition leaders in the country.
Sasa hiyo kisasi ni ya nini? Hii makasiriko ni ya nini? Wewe kwa nini usipumzike? Hakuna mtu alikuwa ako na habari na wewe. Uliwaibia wa Kenya. Umejenga mabarabara ya familia. Wewe unakuja na macho mekundu, unasema wewe huogopi. Hatukukuogopa ulipokuwa rais. Sisi tunaweza kuwa tunaogopa nini tena? Kwa hivyo wewe enda mosmos. Hakuna mtu mwenye shida na wewe. Tumekushinda jana, tutakushinda leo.
However, Bumula MP Wamboka Wanami has castigated President William Ruto over the unlawful arrest of opposition leaders without reason.
Sio ati ana security kwa sababu ya yeye ni mama ya Uhuru Kenyatta. Hapana. Yeye ni mama wa president wa Kenya. Vile wewe utataka Rachel Ruto, Her Excellency, aangaliwe na wananchi miaka mingi baada ya wewe kutoka kwa kiti. Angalia wenzako vile tunataka. Si tunataka tujenge Kenya moja. Lakini hii njia rais ameanza ya kwenda kunyanyasa watu wengine haitasaidia. Kupiga watu marisasi kiholela, tunasema west. Una gani mtu akikuja kusumbua bibi yako, Her Excellency Rachel Ruto? Utasikia aje? Ama watoto wako? Na hii maneno ya kushika viongozi kiholela, wachana nayo bwana. Hii wakati ilikuwa ya Moi. Sisi tulipambana na Moi na tukatisha Moi kabisa. Mheshimiwa Rais, wacha kutisha sisi bwana.
This comes at a time when various opposition leaders and supporters have been arrested, including blogger Pauline Njoroge, together with Okia Omtata's office allegedly being raided by known assailants. Juliet Chepkoech, Lookuptv.
Now, as the Azimio La Umoja coalition prepares for yet another anti-government demonstration, President William Ruto has maintained that his government will not let the destruction of property be the order of the day. And as Ian Keitani now reports, Ruto also cautioned leaders behind the protest, insisting that the law will catch up with them.
After last week's anti-government demonstrations received backlash amid chaos and use of excessive force by the police, President William Ruto sent a stern warning to leaders behind the demonstrations, insisting that his administration will not condone violence.
Mimi nataka vilevile niulize viongozi. Mimi, waheshimiwa, governors, senators, wale watu wote viongozi katika taifa letu la Kenya. Please, hata na nyinyi don't sabotage our country. Don't sabotage Kenya. Don't sabotage our economy. Don't sabotage our nation. Tunawasomesha, tunawapeleka holiday, tunawaprotect, tunawatafutia ajira, wengine hata tumewapeleka bunge. Alafu watoto wa Wakenya wengine ati unapatia pesa, unapatia mawe, ati waende wapige polisi, ati waende waharibu mali. Please, tukuwe na utu.
Speaking during a Thanksgiving service in Taita Taveta County, Ruto called on Kenyans to shun the demonstrations, lamenting that chaotic demonstrations and destruction of properties carrying away investors.
Rais wa China, kwa sababu nilikuwa nimetumana ujumbe kwake, nikatumana mawaziri wakaenda kuongea na serikali yake mapema mwaka huu. Sasa jana amenitumania, akaniambia ile ulitumana ulikuwa unasema tujenge ama tubomoe, kwa sababu ameona last week tumeenda kubomoa ile expressway walitusaidia kujenga, tumeenda kubomoa sijui barabara gani. Sasa wanauliza ni sisi hatukusikia vizuri, mulisema mnataka pesa ya kujenga ama ya kubomoa? Kwa sababu kama ni ya kubomoa, sisi hatuna pesa ya kubomoa.
With the high cost of living being the opposition's key concern, Ruto reiterated subsidizing production, insisting that it was the only way to lower the skyrocketing prices of common commodities.
Tunaweka pesa sio sokoni, tunaweka pesa kwa wakulima shambani. Mwaka huu tumetumia shilingi karibu bilioni 10 kuhakikisha ya kwamba wakulima wetu wanapata mbolea. Tumepunguza, vile niliwaeleza wakati tulikuwa tunaenda kwa uchaguzi, tumepunguza mbolea kutoka shilingi 7,000. Saa hizi mwaka huu tuliuza na 3,500. Wale wanashindana na sisi wanasema ati njia ya kubadilisha bei ya chakula ati nifanya maandamano na kuvaa sufuria kwa kichwa. Munieleze watu ya Taita Taveta, hata kwa uganga ama uchawi ama hata dawa itabadilika unga namna gani iteremke chini ati kwa sababu umevaa sufuria kwa kichwa? Sio ni ujinga mingi sana?
Taita Taveta being one of the coastal counties that overwhelmingly voted for Azimio moja, Ruto called on the local leaders to support his administration regardless of their affiliation.
Jameni watu wa Taita Taveta, mnasema nifanye kazi na hawa viongozi wenu. Siniombe hawa viongozi wafanye kazi na mimi. Na mimi sina maneno mengine, tafadhali viongozi tufanye kazi pamoja. Na hata sisemi mtoke kwa chama chenu, kila mtu akae kwa chama yake, lakini tufanye kazi pamoja.
Now, lawyer Dunstan Omari is among 15 candidates shortlisted for consideration for the Director of Public Prosecution position. Alongside Omari, we have Thomas Letangule, Jacinta Nyaboke, Nyamosi, Victor Vinalmule, Taib Ali Taib, Tabitha Wanyama Owia, and David Kiplagat Ruto, who are set to be interviewed on Tuesday, August 1st. And Iweche, Francis Winston Aswan Ngaira, Peter Mungadia Mailanyi, and Liliana Kinyi Okumu, Jacob Nyakundi Ondari, James Ndegwa, David Mogude and Okachi Brenson Mulei Igonda will be interviewed on Wednesday, August 2nd. Now, a total of 48 applications were made for the position, with notable names such as Miguna and Cliff Ombeta applying for the Public Service Commission, but rather missed out on that, and the Public Service Commission released the list on Saturday, July 22nd. We are due for our first break here on the program. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more, including the big number tonight, where we'll be looking at the number of people that have succumbed because of the protests that are ongoing in the country since March this year. Don't go too far. We'll be back in a moment.
Nyakuwa mita Enter na Lotto every hour. Get into the Lotto money train and win big. Mara hii you win 20,000 times pesa zako. 50 bob inakushindia 1 million shillings every hour na up to 40 million shillings every day. Usiwachwe nyuma. Mamili ni moto moto na Lotto. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 777-000. Andika neno look kama account name. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ubambeto na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Right now, thank you so much for staying with us here on Lookup Weekend. Moving on, angry Narok East leaders and residents held protest against the Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers after they allegedly tortured a 30-year-old herder who had been found in possession of 4 red cedar posts at the Suswa crater. Now, the angry residents issued a 24-hour ultimatum for the police to arrest the KWS officers who they accuse of killing him. Now, led by the area member of parliament, Lamenken Aramat, the residents now demand immediate investigations into the matter.
Gathered in this field, the residents are in distress, angry and demanding for justice.
Na pili, kwani walikuwa na guard nini kwa hiyo Mount Suswa ambao si gazetted? It's not a conservation, it's not gazetted, it's just an area ambayo iko badala ya kwenda kuchunga wanyama about 30 kilometers pali wanyama wapo.
The father of one who died under mysterious circumstances sparked angry protests from residents who stormed the Duka Moja police station to demand answers into the matter.
Kwa zile tulifuatilia tukajua ni mmoja wetu. Tukaenda hadi huko Narok Referral Hospital. Tulifikiri juu tuliarifiwa amerestiwa, hatukuarifiwa amepata jeraha ama afanywa nini. Tulikuwa alishikwa, sasa tulikuwa na kufuatilia huko baada kumpata kijana hata hajalazwa hospitali, amelazwa mochari na hatujui ni nani amemlaza, na tunasikitika sana na tuko na uchungu sana kama familia na tunataka haki itendeke.
The residents claim the KWS Rangers tortured the victim and inflicted him with injuries before rushing him to Narok Referral Hospital, where he died on arrival.
Tulikuwa tunafanya maandamano na alikuwa amefunga hiyo barabara, sibagua ni yeye. Ilikuwa tuko tayari kulipisha kisasi, kutafuta ile watu iliua hiyo kijana, hata sisi tuwe mtu yao.
Matt, who was accompanied by several leaders, including Narok County Assembly MCAs, addressed residents at the station and called for calm and time for the police to carry out investigations.
Nataka kuwasihi serikali kwa sababu najua hii serikali inajali watu wa chini. Nimeongea na PS Olondwa, nimeongea na Director General wa KWS Kangi, nimeongea na PS Sylvia wa KWS, na wametuahidi ya kwamba haki ya wananchi italindwa na itadumishwa. Kama ni askari 8 walikuwa wanashika huyo mtoto, ama wameshika ama wamehusika kwa kushika huyo mtoto, then action should be taken on the same people. Kwa sababu tunajua huyu kijana was dragged somewhere about 10 meters after kuuliwa na kutupwa kwa cliff ambao si yeye alijitupa. So tunataka ukweli na tutalala mpaka ukweli uwe.
According to a police report at the station, which was reported by KWS officers led by CPL David Onyango, indicated that they met a man in possession of 4 red cider posts, a panga and a torch while on patrol. The area MP and other leaders differed with this and demanded thorough investigations on the matter.
Kati ya KWS na Kenya Forest, kwani KWS inahusika aje na polls? Kama ni polls hii kijana alikuwa amepatwa nazo.
A relative to the deceased, Joshua Kaleke, said the KWS officer's vehicle was seen carrying a person and the cider post, and later learned that their kin was arrested and taken to Narok. The residents later heard gunshots in the morning. Nushin Mungasia, Lookuptv.
Right, now moving on, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Felix Koskei, has warned parents in Marsabit County who do not take their children to school that they will be arrested and prosecuted. He ordered the local administration officials to take action against parents who deny their children education opportunities, which is a right guaranteed by the Constitution.
Speaking in Laisami's constituency, Marsabit County, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Felix Koskei, called on parents not to deny their children education opportunities, as that is the only way to give them a better future.
Niko na shida na nyinyi kidogo. Nyinyi mnakataza watoto waende shule. Vijana sana hawaendi shule. Ukifika shuleni, ECD, grade 1, unapata wasichana wengi kuliko vijana. Vijana wameenda wapi? Nasikia nyinyi mnapeleka vijana waende wachunge mbuzi, wachunge ngamia, ati wawe warani. Inji hii haiwezi endelea kama hatuna watu wale wamesoma. So mimi nataka nyinyi mupeleke vijana na wasichana wapi? Shuleni. Na tena kisheria ni hatia ukiwacha mtoto nyumbani.
Koskei added that the law will take its course on anyone who refuses to take their children to school. He noted a trend in the county where there is a higher number of girls enrolled at primary and secondary levels but drop out due to teen pregnancies.
Na ndio county commissioner, unajua kwamba watoto wa shule ile imetimia lazima waende shule. Toa amri kwa kila assistant chief, ACC, DCC, wase wa mitaa wakisha kwamba watoto wale wametimia waende shuleni.
Accompanied by Principal Secretaries Raymond Omolo, Joseph Mbugwa and Idris Dakota, Mr. Koskei promised to build a boarding school to cut the long distances the girls travel in search of education.
Tumekuja leo hapa kujua changamoto ile mko nayo, ili tukipanga maneno ya serikali huko Nairobi hata nyinyi mtakuwa ndani ya hiyo mipango. Iwe barabara, iwe maji, iwe hospitali, ile kuajiriwa watoto, mtakuwa hata na nyinyi kwa hiyo mipango ya serikali.
Hadassa Crystal, Lookuptv.
All right, thank you so much, Hadassa. Away from that, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is slated to address the high-level United Nations Summit stock-taking on financing food systems in Rome, Italy on Monday morning. Now, the DP will represent President William RUTO at the summit, whose participants are mainly heads of state and government and key organizations seeking lasting solutions to hunger and malnutrition and mitigating the impact of climate change. The three-day high-level talks will kick off with Kenya setting the stage with a keynote address by the Deputy President on financing food systems. Now back here in the country, traders of the new Kaburengu market along Eldoret-Webuye Highway have welcomed the county government of Kakamega's move to set aside a secure place for running their businesses. However, they have complained about not being provided with shelter, lights and stalls, as they have had to face with the wrath of bad weather.
As they plan on settling into the new Kaburengu market, the traders have expressed their distress to the county government of Kakamega for not providing them with shelter, lights, stalls for their businesses from bad weather.
Moja, hao mama kulingana na mahasla wana vile wanaweza jaribu bahati yao jioni. Hapa ni kisa, hii kiwanja yenyewe ni mzuri lakini ni kisa.
These traders have been forced to shelter under a flyover during bad weather, which they claim it's endangering their lives.
Kwa maana huko vile mwenzangu amesema, hapo tukijinga mvua tutamaliziwa hapo tena. Kwa maana hiyo ndio stake ya kuanguka.
The Deputy Governor of Kakamega County, Ayub Savula, stated that the government has allocated 9 million Kenya shillings from Disaster Fund for construction of shelter in the market.
Under the leadership of Baraza, we have managed to budget for money in our budget. We have about 9 million under disaster, which we want now to build temporary sheds for our traders there who have moved there because they are living in shanties.
Meanwhile, the Western Region's Police Commander Kiprono Langat has assured the traders that the police department is collaborating with various units to ensure a reduction in accident along the road.
Tunafanya kazi wakati huu na idara ya ujenzi wa barabara KENHA, idara ya usalama barabarani NTSA na county government ya Kakamega kuhakikisha kwamba tumeweka mikakati ya kuhakikisha kwamba hizo ajali zimepungua.
Kevin Nyapara, Lookuptv.
All right, from Nyapara's story, we move to the newsroom. Now, Samburu and Turkana communities have now reached a peace agreement over grazing land. Now, the two warring communities have formed grazing committees at Angata, Nanyokye and Mati on how they will be grazing their livestock peacefully. This and more in our newsroom.
Residents of Samburu and Turkana are now enjoying peace after making a past grazing agreement. The two communities, which have been fighting for a long time, have now held a peace meeting and agreed on how they will continue their grazing activities without any attacks.
Ila kushokosana, tutilete ile baragoi, ile amani ya baragoi, tuenese hapa na wametumekubali leo wote na wazee na wamama kuwa ng'ombe itakula nyasi na Waturkana na Wasamburu ikishanganyana na kuna mtu ataguza mwingine kama vile tulisikisana.
Elsewhere, Isiolo County residents have embarked on a mission to produce and store fodder as part of preparations for recurrent dry seasons.
So here in Rapsu, we have 2 groups where we support the production of fodder. They focus mostly in Kina ward, so they support livestock in Kina here in Isiolo County. All year round, there is sufficient of fodder in this area, and they also support other counties.
Finally, in Kisii County, the clergy wants legislation on religious organizations detached from societies owing to the nature of their work. They claim registering them under societies implied they could be associated with organizations perpetuating corrupt and radical ideologies. Speaking during the 3rd graduation ceremony of Shepherd's Bible Institute in Bomachog, the director Elijah Siemo urged the national government to streamline the religious organizations.
Sasa kitu ningesema kuhusu wale wachungaji ambao wameonekana wakifanya mambo yasiyofaa kwa kuelekeza watu kwa maovu. Yale tunaomba serikali ile njia wametuma task force, tunashukuru sana ile task force kwa kuchukua maoni yetu. Maoni mimi ningesema kanisa ama religious organization wawe na religious organization act other than being registered under the Society Act, hiyo ambayo inasajili yoyote, inasajili makundi yoyote. Sasa sisi kama religious organization, we need our laws and we need to regulate ourselves.
Stella Kilonzo, Lookuptv.
All right, now from the news wrap, we do want to take another break here on Lookup Weekend, but we'll be back in a few with more, including sports and our Sunday segment, The Big Number.
Nyakua mita na Lotto every hour. Get into the Lotto money train and win big. Mara hii you win 20,000 times pesa zako. 50 bob inakushindia 1 million shillings every hour na up to 40 million shillings every day. Usiwachwe nyuma. Mamili ni moto moto na Lotto. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 777-000. Andika neno Look kama account name. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ubambeto na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual,
support in bridging that care gap. Part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.
All right, now welcome back to the program. Nelly Welly says first method of estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Responding to a story that we've done here about the president and the arrests that have been happening in the country, and also the crackdown at the former president's home, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta. Raymond Couture says nowhere in the Katiba where one is allowed to destroy property, loot, kill, or any other unlawful act while in demos or in any other public activity. That is Nelly. One more here. Peter Ngetunyo says opposition don't require sober minds. They need to be dealt with firmly without any single mercy. They are arrogant. Okay, that is your take on that. Let me see if we can get some more. Anastasia Ann says hadi saa hii Ruto hajui kile anafaa kufanya kama kiongozi, hatutachagua vichwa ngumu tena. That is Anastasia Ann. Evan Songubo says you are telling Pharaoh to release the Israelites, leave him to God. All right, those so many feedback that you're sending in regards to the stories that we are running tonight here on Lookup Weekend. Continue engaging us on our socials at Amoy Brand on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag we are using tonight is Lookup Weekend. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube, where you can actually send your feedback on these particular platforms, and I'll be able to sample some of it as we continue with the program tonight. All right, now it is time for our segment tonight, and that is the big number. Now, the big number tonight, we focus on the pressing issues surrounding the recent anti-government protests led by the Azimio coalition in Kenya, and the tragic consequences that have followed. Kenya's leading opposition coalition, Azimio, resumed street protests on July 7th, 2023, after the suspension of earlier protests in May to allegedly pave the way for talks with the government. Now, the opposition coalition had previously called for anti-government protests between March and May to pressure the government to address the rising cost of living and grievances relating to the August 2022 presidential election. On July 14th, the opposition coalition called for 3 days of continuous protests starting July 19th. Now, since the March 2023 protests, a number of people have lost their lives. According to Amnesty, at least 30 cases of police killings of protesters have been reported. This was until 20th of this month, which is Thursday this week. Now, the cases include March 20th and 27th protest, the case of the 30 people who have lost their lives. And between that period, we saw 12 people who died. During the Sabasaba protest, we also saw 12 people killed by the police. And on July 19th, we saw 6 people killed by the police. Now, the deaths have been attributed to, one, suffocation from tear gas and lethal shootings. According to Amnesty, preliminary investigations, they have revealed that the police have used beatings, arbitrary arrests, and detention of protesters. Now, indiscriminate and disproportionate use of tear gas and water cannons and other serious rights violation to police the protests. The international community has been closely monitoring the situation in Kenya. Now, representatives and ambassadors from the United States, Britain, Denmark, and the United Nations have expressed deep concern over the peaceful demonstrations turning violent. The international envoys have met with opposition leaders voicing their concerns over the escalation of the violence during the protests. Let's take a look at what Kalonzo Musyoka had to say after meeting the international community.
In fact, the UN offices, the very high ranking, came over to my residence, and we agreed we will not at this stage address the media. Of course, they're all very concerned, not just them as ambassadors, but the international community. The story of peaceful demonstrations turned violent by the police have received international visibility. What sense does it make to meet with people who are already committing acts of genocide?
Right now, in stark contrast, the Kenyan government has praised the work done by the police in containing the demonstrations. Now, government officials commended the police force for their handling of the protests, despite the reported incidents of violence and even deaths. Meanwhile, the independent, or rather, before we get to that, let's take a look at what President William Ruto and government officials had to say in regards to this.
Our security forces, police wetu, nawashukuru sana for your patriotism, for your professionalism. Na mimi nataka kuuliza, ile task force ilikuwa formed ya kuangalia maslahi ya polisi wetu. Waharakisha hiyo kazi, tuongeze polisi wetu mshahara kwa sababu wanafanya kazi mzuri ya kuprotect mali ya umma na kusimamisha maandamano. Your Excellency, I know our police force has been vilified for the actions that they have had to take to ensure that there is peace and our country law and order thrives.
Nataka kuambia polisi wetu, mkae imara. Tunajua mnatishwa, lakini wewe ujue huwezi tupa mawe kwa police station. Kama nyinyi ya mwedi kwa barabara kuharibu mali ya watu, polisi watakaa police station.
Kenya, na hakuna mtu atatisha polisi wa Kenya wakati wanatekeleza wajibu wao wa kikatiba. Mimi kama rais nitasimama imara kuhakikisha kwamba polisi wetu wanatimiza wajibu wao kulingana na vile katiba inavyosema.
Now, meanwhile, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched investigations into the police officers' use of force during the protest. Now, IPOA chairperson Anne Makori has assured Kenyans that the investigations will take into account the fundamental rights and freedoms of all individuals involved. The events unfolding in Kenya should matter to all of us as they involve the loss of lives and injuries to innocent civilians. The calls by the international community and the investigations by IPOA seek to shed light on any injustices and ensure accountability for those responsible. Because 30 is a big number to lose to the bullet. That's the big number tonight. Up next is sports. Let's get sporty tonight. Now, former African boxing champion Daniel Wanyonyi defeated Tanzanian's Karim Mtukazi in a light heavyweight Ultra Fight Series promotion boxing rematch played at Sarit Expo Center, Nairobi. The match was promoted by Maurice Odera and sponsored by gaming and betting company Betika. The face-off attracted a lot of fans who witnessed 10 rounds of punches.
Kwanza narudishia shukrani mashabiki wangu kwa kuja kwa wingi. Hiyo ni kuonesha kwamba kuna upendo, wana upendo na mimi na mimi sijawaangusha. So nashukuru sana tena promoter wangu kwa kunisikia, kunipa hiyo rematch. Si rahisi promoter kupea rematch ili hali umepoteza kwake hiyo. Hiyo ni kuonesha kwamba ananijua na anajua kitu iko ndani ya Wanyonyi, na nimeprove kwake kwamba mi Wanyonyi ni champion. Wanyonyi ni real na mmeona na macho, sisemi na mdomo, na nimesema kwa vitendo. Na sasa promoter amesema atanirudishia ile mkanda wa bingwa wa Afrika, na nimefurahi sana. So hiyo ni hatua nimepiga mbele, nimerudi ile level yangu, Wanyonyi ule number 1 wa Afrika. Kwa pointi kimimi nasema ni afadhali juu nimejipima sana. Mimi umaliza game raundi ya pili ama ya tatu ama ya 4. So mi wana uoga, mi wana nikifika raundi ya 7 8 itakuwaje mambo. Lakini sasa vile imeenda raundi 10 kwangu imekuwa proof kwamba naweza cheza raundi mingi na naweza cheza raundi kidogo. Hiyo ni kumaanisha kwamba champion uko katika hali yote. Uwe tayari kwa masafa marefu na uwe tayari kwa masafa mafupi. Nilikuwa nimezoea tu raundi 4 5, raundi 4 3. So nakuwa na uoga kwenda raundi mingi, lakini nimeona nimerando mingi. Hiyo inaonyesha kwamba Wanyonyi niko kwa peak na hiyo niko ready kwa game yoyote. Kama unaweza enda raundi mingi, unaweza enda raundi kidogo, unamwonyesha uko ready na hiyo ndio kuwa champion.
Kuna kilichofanyika kibaya kwa mimi Mandonga Mtukazi naona kitu kizuri tu kwa sababu wanasema siku zote mcheza nyumbani utunzwa. Nadhani mambo yameonekana hadharani. Ya haina jinsi ya kupinga na hamna jinsi ya kukubali. Zaidi ya kusema Mandonga anaweka tiki tu. Kwamba hii ameshinda vizuri tu kwangu mimi. Kwa sababu siwezi kuweka alama ya kuuliza. Ukati mchezo umeonekana. Watu wameona Mandonga amefanya kazi na Daniel Wanyonyi amefanya kazi. Kwa hiyo mzuri tu.
Moses Mudoki emerged the overall winner of the 8th leg of the KCB East Africa Golf Tour held at the Nyeri Golf Club. Now Mudoki carded an impressive 41 Stableford points to claim victory by defeating over 120 golfers. The winning team of the day comprised Winnie Waiganjo, Dr. Esthu, Vincent Githinji and Stephen Gashara, who scored a total of 147 points ahead of Thomas Mundia, Samuel Kiragu, Francis Njoroge and Joel Gathanda, who returned 134 points to come second. Now the two teams now join other 7 teams that have qualified for the tour's grand finale, which is scheduled to take place in November this year in Karen Country and Golf Club.
I didn't know I would be playing with. When I finished, it was very interesting because sequentially, and golf is about consistency. I think I have to do something about hole number 8, hole number 17, and hole number 9, 18. Because those were my Waterloos today.
One of the best paying sporting activity. So when you start early, like I have seen with the junior, where KCB is doing the junior clinic, when you start early, you'll definitely be able to get pros who will be able to competitively compete with the international players. So what KCB has started, for sure, going to the next 5-10 years, you'll see the results. I look forward to a day when a Kenyan will win the Kenya Open. You know, it's very unfortunate that whenever we do the Kenyan Open, all the dollars and the euros, you know, are not left here. They live with the Europeans.
Now, the Western Region High School Games came to an end with various teams qualifying for the next month's High School National Games. Now, Shandarema High School emerged the football champions in the boys category by trouncing Musingu High 3-0. Now, in the girls category, Butere Girls defeated Madira Girls by a solitary goal to be crowned the winners. Now, in rugby, Koyonzo emerged the winner by defeating Vihiga.
For the first time, Shandarema inafika this level for the first time and winning for the first time. Kuhusu game ya leo, Musingu is a good team. Ni team nzuri sana ambayo tulicheza nayo last I think some 2 weeks ago. Tukakutana nao county finals. Wakanishinda kidogo kwa sababu ya kuteleza kidogo, na leo nilijua vile wanacheza. Nikabadilisha tactics kidogo tu. No, same players, new players who leta kwa competition at such a level. They have their weaknesses and they have their strengths, so tuli capitalize on weaknesses tu kidogo na tukapata mabao.
Kwa kuwa haijakuwa rahisi kwa sababu imebidi tupitie the big giants ili tuweze kufika hapa. Nashukuru Mungu kwa hayo. Na nationals ambayo iko mbele yetu, kwa kuwa sisi ndio tumekuwa number 1, tumequalify kucheza nationals. Nationals hii tunawaahidi wakazi wa regional wa western, tunawaahidi kwa kuwa tutakuwa nao, tutashiriki mchuano hiyo vizuri na tutawapea ile ambao wanahitaji. Kwa kuwa tunaomba tunajua tutarudisha kikombe ya Nationals nyumbani hapa Western.
Game imekuwa poa. Tulikuwa na imani kwa game ya leo. County haikuwa pande yetu, ni luck tu tulikosa, but tukuweka kichwa chini. Tulila kwa mazoezi na huko chetu Kevin Suba akatuelezea vile hii game tutawin. Tunamshukuru sana pia kwa hiyo support yake. Huwa anakuwa na sisi asubuhi, saa 7 jioni, usiku, saa maombi. Kitu ya muhimu hapa ni Mungu. Mungu ndiye ametufikisha hapa. Si kwa uwezo wetu, ni Mungu.
I've been speaking for the last 50 minutes, and sign language interpreter has been, signing for the past 50 minutes. It has been a pleasure, but before we sign out, let me take some of your feedback. Pastor James Kubai says, tuned from Mwea, Nguruvani town. Then we do have Philip Mwita says, we don't need the dialogue. Democracy is fought for. Let those who will die to die so that some can get democracy. Democracy is not a kissing event. That is your feedback. That is your take. And Christopher Mwangi says, hakuna nusu mkate. Get used to that. Referring to the ongoing protest and what has been said in regards to what the opposition needs out of this protest. Ivan Sogalo says, I'd read that earlier. Let me take one more here. Joseph Luceno says, we need to embrace nationhood and stop ethnicity. It's a fact that the high cost of living is taking a toll on everyone, and the government is behaving like a proverbial ostrich which has dipped its head inside the sand, being enclaved in a tribal cobweb. Defending our tribesmen for the wrong should be discarded. Right? Those are just some of your feedback on the stories that we were running today, and we do appreciate that. We don't take that for granted. Thank you so much for making time for this program tonight. My name is Brian Amuai. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Philista Adundo. On behalf of everyone that made it a success tonight, I do want to thank you so much for watching. Let's do this again on Tuesday on The Bottom Line when we talk about healing the nation. Good night.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542